Despite starting the first game of the season very well, the Toronto Raptors eventually fell to the New Orleans Pelicans in pretty disappointing fashion. So what went wrong for the Raptors, who led by 7 at halftime? We break it all down in the Raptors Roundup. Welcome to Amateur Sports, where we give you NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors at least 4 days a week. Really excited to get this season going. Unfortunately, it did start with a loss, but in today's video, we're going to introduce a new segment on the channel. It is the Raptors Roundup. It will be the video directly after a game, kind of replacing that game review video where we go through a synopsis of the game and then we break down the takeaways from the game and sum it all up in videos just like this. So if it is your first time here with me today and you like what you see, want more of myself talking about the Toronto Raptors in videos just like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and join the movement of the channel. Thank you so much for all the support that has been coming in over the last little while. I'm truly grateful for everybody who's hit that subscribe button, who watches the videos, enjoys the content. Let's get into the video. We're talking about the Raptors game against the New Orleans Pelicans. Game 1 of the shortened 72-game NBA season. The Toronto Raptors eventually fell 113-99. Yeah, it was pretty ugly. The Raptors can't even get to 100 points on the first night. And it was so promising at halftime. The Raptors were kind of cruising midway through the third quarter. It was 57-50 at halftime. They came out of the gate a little bit better, and then it all slipped away. So we're going to get right into the synopsis of the game. Right before we do that, I just want to say, this isn't bashing the Raptors. I don't want anyone to panic. It is game 1. There are 71 games remaining. There is no need to really make a huge deal about this game. We're just going to go through the game, talk about what went well, what didn't go well. Do not panic about the Toronto Raptors just yet. So, first quarter, the Raptors, they come out strong. I thought they were shooting a little bit too many threes, but then they kind of turned it into the fluid offense that we're used to seeing from the Toronto Raptors. Pascal Siakam specifically looked very, very confident out there. He was shooting well, getting to the rim, drawing contact, going in for contact on bigger guys like Zion Williamson, and still managing to get his points. He was so much more decisive with the basketball, and he was smiling again, making good decisions again. It reminded me of what we saw in the regular season last year with Pascal Siakam. This was a different man than we saw in the playoffs, in the bubble. This was a different man. Pascal Siakam looked to be getting back to his best. He's getting there. And I really liked what I saw yesterday. He was also very energetic on both ends of the court. It was a very promising start for Siakam. The first quarter was really highlighted by turnovers from both teams. The Raptors turned over the ball a ton. The Pelicans turned over the ball a ton. The Raptors did a good job of turning those turnovers into points, though. I liked what we did in the fast break. The Raptors obviously great in transition. Pascal Siakam, obviously a great player in transition. Things are working for the Raptors on offense. On defense, they were drawing in those steals. They were drawing turnovers. It was looking good on defense. They had this schematic placed where when Brandon Ingram got it, on the perimeter, they would double him there. And then if Zion got the ball in the post, they would double him there and let the other 3 guys in the court have their space and try to react to that. But they were really dealing with Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, and it was working quite well all over the course of the entire first half, to be honest. The Raptors looked good on offense when they weren't turning over the ball. When they were turning over the ball, obviously ugly. When they kept the ball, offense was looking good. They're passing the ball well, making good shots. I love that Matt Thomas was in the regular rotation. Struggled right off the bat, missed his first 2 threes, but then he got into the game later on. I thought Zion would have been a problem because of his size, but he wasn't. Boucher, even when he came in, did quite a good job on him, and OG Anunoby all throughout the first had a decent performance defending Zion. Then we get to the second quarter, and defense was the name of the game. The Raptors tightened up the defense even more. They were working that scheme that Nick Nurse had to defend Zion, to defend Brandon Ingram, working to a T, but shooting got a little bit sloppy for the Raptors here. There were still some turnovers everywhere, kind of slipping, let the Pelicans back in the game, and then Kyle Lowry went in all-star mode. Kyle Lowry was on fire in the first half, hitting so many shots. He looked great. I really liked what I saw from Kyle Lowry. Even though he missed 2 out of the 3 preseason games, Kyle Lowry looked on. He looks on for this season. It's exciting to see. If he continues to play like this, I think he's on track for another All-Star appearance, his 7th straight All-Star appearance this season. We had a nice 9-man rotation going. It was a very tight 9-man rotation. You had your starters and Freddie and Kyle at the guards. OG, Siakam, and Baines. And Baines, by the way, I thought he had a pretty good game. I was pretty happy with what I saw from Baines. Then off the bench, Norman Powell, obviously your sixth man. Matt Thomas looked like the seventh man. Chris Boucher came in, and DeAndre Bembry wrapped up that tight 9-man rotation. And I was pretty happy with what I saw from that 9-man rotation, to be honest. I like those 9 guys. I like the mix we can get. It looked like Boucher and Baines were handling the size of Steven Adams to a decent degree. I thought of the first quarter, it wasn't great, but then it picked up in the second quarter. But all of a sudden, the Raptors really couldn't get a make, and the defense got a little bit sloppy. The Pelicans got back in the game. Credit to Van Gundy's guys, credit to the Pelicans, because their defense was great at this point, midway through the second quarter, getting the Pelicans back into the game. Baines was setting some hard screens, getting guys open, getting guys good opportunities, like some real screen assists shown by Baines. Really knows his role, and that's probably the best part about him. Knows his position on the team, knows his role, and lets the other guys do their work. And then Pascal Siakam, near the end of that second quarter, was really showing out. I was loving Pascal Siakam in the first half. We close out the half well. We're up by 7. Everything's on track to go well, right? I don't know what happened at halftime. I don't know what was said. I really would like to know how it all fell apart so quickly. We started the third quarter quite well, to be honest. They started quite well. Well, we went out to like 10, 11 point lead at one point, and then all of a sudden, nothing was going in. We missed 11 three-pointers in the third quarter, and we hit none. It was an historically bad shooting quarter for the Toronto Raptors. It was one of the 4 times in franchise history they took 10 or more threes in a quarter and failed to hit a single one. And that allowed the Pelicans to get right back in the game and take a lead in the game. And the Raptors, who were missing a ton of shots, were allowing a lot of times where the Pelicans could expose us in transition. The Raptors were pretty sloppy in transition, just like they were in the preseason. And the Pelicans turned that 11-point deficit around. And all of a sudden, I think the Pelicans were leading midway through the third quarter. And also didn't help that not only were we missing everything, the Pelicans were missing nothing. They were on fire in the second half. They had a phenomenal shooting night as a whole, and it all started in the third quarter, right when the Raptors were hitting nothing. Like, where did Eric Bledsoe learn to shoot like he did yesterday? This guy was lights out. He is never like that. Brandon Ingram started hitting some ridiculous shots, which you can expect sometimes, but some of those shots were just ridiculous. Like the one to close out the third quarter with guys draped all over him, off balance, still nails a deep 3, and the Pelicans weren't missing. It was unfathomable to see the Raptors hit nothing and the Pelicans hit everything. And the frustrating part, the most frustrating part of it all, was that these 3-pointers, they were good looks. Like OG Anunoby got 5 solid 3-point looks in that game. Like 5 wide open threes, could not hit anything. Pascal Siakam slowed down. And really, in the second half, the only guy who was actually hitting threes was Matt Thomas. But Nick Nurse was limiting his minutes for some reason. Because I thought Matt Thomas looked great on offense, was hitting threes, and was also doing a pretty good job on defense. Like Matt Thomas's defense has really improved to the point where he can be in this rotation for the Raptors. So yeah, a third quarter comes and goes. We have not hit a single 3-pointer. The Pelicans have taken over this game. So I think, okay, bad third quarter. We came out slow. Let's fix it for the fourth quarter. Let's get our break. Let's fix it for the fourth quarter. Then we didn't fix it. We still couldn't really hit anything. At least we hit something. I think as a whole in the second half, we shot 3 for 22 from 3. And that's not going to win you basketball games, probably ever, let alone 2020 basketball games. We also struggled to really get any free throws. That kind of changed in the second half. In the fourth quarter, Norman Powell got to the line a few times. We were really struggling to get to the line, but that's really no excuse for the fact that the Raptors were not hitting any of their shots. I'm being very critical of their shooting, but the fact that they were creating all these wide open looks from 3 for their guys, like OG Anunoby is a great spot up shooter, shot 39% from 3 last year. Fred VanVleet had a lot of opportunities. He was a big volume shooter yesterday, and it just wasn't going for him. Baines had some good looks. It just wasn't falling. The Raptors were doing a good job of creating these looks, and because they were missing all these shots, the Pelicans, who have a guy like Zion Williamson, were pushing the ball very well in transition, finding their guys and putting in the buckets because they were allowed all those fast breaks because of all those misses from the Raptors. The Raptors didn't even play that bad, But because of all these missed open threes, you're not going to win the basketball game. And my notes kind of trail off in the fourth quarter because I was just so upset with the shooting. But, I like doing the videos the day after because it gives me a good overnight, a good time to process all the action. And what I don't want to see happen is people panic. I don't want to see the Raptors getting blamed for letting Serge go, and Serge Ibaka is the reason we lost this game because we didn't have him. It wasn't that. The Raptors as a whole played pretty well. I am pretty happy if you look at the performance from the Raptors, the way they played. They played like they were going to win that game, but it all went downhill when they weren't hitting the open threes. And that's something you fix. The Pelicans were just hitting everything. The Raptors were just hitting nothing. It is what it is. It sucks. It's frustrating as hell. It's game one, though. The Raptors just had an off shooting night. The Pelicans were on their shooting, and they took advantage of the situation. In other games, when the Raptors are getting good looks like that, you're going to rely on OG Anunoby. You're going to rely on Norman Powell, Fred VanVleet to hit those shots, to hit those wide open threes. It just wasn't happening in this game. Give them a few games. Let's get it going. Once they're in, fully in rhythm, fully in regular season mode, a game like that won't happen. It's going to seldom happen. You're not going to see it very often. The Pelicans had a 52% field goal percentage and 45% three-point field goal percentage. Look, that's ridiculous. That is utterly ridiculous shooting. Eric Bledsoe was having, a career night from three-point land. JJ Redick was getting too many opportunities. That's where the sloppy D came in. JJ Redick got too many opportunities. Brandon Ingram hit some ridiculously contested three-pointers. Lonzo Ball was even hitting some threes in the second half. They were just hitting everything. The Raptors, even though they created the looks, at least they're creating the looks. If they're not falling, that's something that, coaching isn't going to fix. You can't force a guy to hit his shots. The Raptors, the players, they're going to feel like this was a game they should have won, but the Raptors start 0-1 to the season because of it. So I think what we can take away is that we have the 9-man rotation set. It looks like Matt Thomas has replaced Terrence Davis in that regular rotation. We'll see maybe in other games if Terrence Davis's ball handling is more necessary, but with Kyle Lowry, with Fred VanVleet being some primary ball handlers, and Matt Thomas looking like a much improved NBA player, I'm very happy that Matt Thomas is in that regular rotation. I love having that shooter, that spot-up shooter like the Pelicans have in JJ Redick on the court. So, Matt Thomas in the fourth quarter was the only guy really hitting his three-pointers. He was hitting his threes, and then Nick Nurse took him out of the game right when we were chipping away. I didn't understand the decision from Nurse to take out Matt Thomas, the only guy who was actually hitting shots. Maybe he didn't like something from defense, but you needed those points. Matt Thomas should have been on the floor. So, good takeaways that Matt Thomas looks like a much improved player. Kyle Lowry looks like he is in that all-star mode again. He looks ready. He looks prepared to try to carry this team. Not really carry, from a standpoint, but leadership. Carry them from a leadership standpoint. Try to push them onward to something greater. And another good takeaway is that Pascal Siakam looks like he's getting back into that spicy P form we saw last year. That form that got him all NBA second team, almost 23 points per game. 20 points yesterday, shot the ball, decently efficient, 8 for 17 from the field. That's usually what you can expect from Pascal Siakam. I think 3 for 7 from 3. Pretty good. I'm going to take those numbers from Pascal Siakam. I know he can improve. Also, a nice 6 assists. That's big for Siakam. That's somewhere where he can improve his game. I like that. 6 rebounds as well. Siakam had a great game. So overall, it's hard to really criticize the Toronto Raptors other than the shooting. I thought that maybe in the first half, there's a little bit too many turnovers, but it's the first game of the season, Guys learning rotations, guys learning plays. Like Aaron Baines showed a little bit right at the start of the game. He had some turnovers, but, he fixed up. He drew a charge, was drawing fouls, getting points at the rim, hit a 3. He looked pretty good out there once he settled in. DeAndre Bembry, had a couple bad turnovers, but then had that insane block off one of his turnovers too. So there was good things, there were bad things, there was stuff we can clean up. The biggest thing, get in the gym and work on the three-point shooting because the Raptors as a whole played pretty well. The Pelicans aren't exactly, an elite team in the NBA, but I think the Pelicans are a playoff team this year with the coaching's change and with players being healthy, adding in Eric Bledsoe and Steven Adams, a huge pickup for the Pelicans. There are good teams who lose the first game of the season, and it doesn't mean that it's over. There's another 71 games to go. 4 of the last 5 NBA champions started the season 0-1. So, I'm not saying the Raptors are, the favorites to be NBA champions. So I don't think they're even close to being favorites for being the NBA champions this year. But, losing one game doesn't mean that the season you just blow it up. Let's just stay calm. I saw a lot of people panicking online. We're staying calm. The Raptors played well in game 2. When the next game happens on Boxing Day against the Spurs, when they create those 3-point looks, they are going to fall, and that is going to be the difference. I expect the Raptors to bounce back big time and win that Boxing Day game against the Spurs. Let me know what you guys made of game 1 against the Pelicans. Yeah, it was frustrating. It was stressful watching them shoot like that, but they played well. Look at the big picture. The Raptors played well. Their new guys like Aaron Baines looked quite sharp out there, and it's only going to get better throughout the rest of the season. But let me know all your thoughts and opinions on the game against the Pelicans in the comments down below. But that wraps up for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, please like the video if you like, and subscribe to Amateur Sports for more content just like this. As you can imagine, there won't be a video tomorrow, and there won't be a video on Saturday either. We'll save it for Sunday. We'll do another Raptors Roundup video for the game against the San Antonio Spurs. Again, I'm expecting them to win that. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everybody who is celebrating that. I do celebrate that, so that's why we're taking a little bit of a hiatus from the channel, but we'll be back, and the Raptors will be back as well, stronger than ever. I'm very excited to give you all the content throughout the season as the Raptors look to be one of the high seeds in the Eastern Conference yet again. At the end of the day, I believe what I say. If you disagree, that is okay. We'll see you again next time for another video.